All right. I have mentioned earlier in the first part of this module that um, in a data communication system, when we have DCEs communicating with each other, that's the part where we have digital communications, which refers to the mode of communication where the information or the thought is encoded digitally as discrete signals and electronically transferred to the recipients, especially when wireless media is being used. So, in digital communications, we have options like transmitting via wireless signals, which are analog in nature. So our options could be something like an ASK or amplitude shift keying, right? This one where the amplitude is being modified according to our digital data. And then we have the frequency shift keying. Okay, the frequency is being modified by our data. And then we also have the phase shift keying. Okay, this time the phase or the timing is being modified by our input data. And lastly, we have the combination of amplitude shift keying and the phase shift keying, also known as the QAM or the quadrature amplitude shift keying, which is which has several variants, and one of those variants is being used by our phones, smartphones, our laptops, and other common digital communication devices. Okay. Now, if they are not meant to be transmitted wirelessly, meaning we can directly transmit digital data without converting to analog and vice versa, then if it's a long distance, especially through fiber optic cables, we have options like line coding techniques. Um, for optimization of our transmission. Okay, so some of our options are here. We have the NRZ and the RZ. NRZ stands for non-return to zero. Um, we also have the biphase and the differential Manchester and so on. Okay, so these are line coding techniques that we can choose when we are transmitting digital data over digital links, which are normally wired in nature. Okay. So in digital communications, we can expand the sender to have these components and the receiver to have these components. So our computers and smart devices normally have both. Okay, they have the sender and the receiver module. Um, okay, and when we are transmitting over long distances, okay, if our channel uh, is something over a long distance, then we normally transmit multiple data together or multiple channels. We bundle them as one transmission. Okay, and we do that using multiplexing. Okay, we can multiplex in terms of frequency, in terms of time, code, or we use OFDM. So what's the point? When we are choosing the communication modules of our robotic system, we must check are they able to communicate via QAM or at its certain variant, or are they able to communicate via this certain line coding technique, or can they be used for modulation, this certain type of multiplexing, and so on. So we check their uh, modulation, line coding, and multiplexing features or specifications. Okay. Again, the sender and the receiving part, or the party A and party B, must agree to these things in order for data communication to take place effectively. Okay. Now, especially in modern times, when we have long distance involved, then we need to make use of telecommunication facilities. Okay. Um, Before we have our modern telecommunications, the especially in the 90s up to the early 2000s, we rely actually on satellite communications to connect the world, or to connect one portion of the world to the rest. Okay. Um, or to connect the world together, the different parts of the world together. So, different countries used to be communicating via the internet using satellite communications. So the internet used to operate only via satellite, wherein the shorter distance, especially land, if the connection is via land only or terrestrial, we have the telephone lines. Okay, so that was the uh, uh, option back then. If it's terrestrial only or via land, then telephone lines. But if it has to go overseas or over a very long distance, then it must go through a satellite. Okay, remember the satellite is somewhere outside our atmosphere. Okay, and then right now we have terrestrial microwave communications. If Okay, before that, let's have cellular. The Even our cellular communications back then rely on satellite communications for overseas. But since the development of fiber optic communications, we can now connect the different networks of our cellular networks via fiber optics. We have such thing as transatlantic cables that goes overseas. Okay, so the different countries are now being connected via wires that go through oceans. Okay, so no longer satellite communications alone connect us together. Um, Now, fiber optic communications, we have different uses and we can build networks actually. But if we need mobile devices, then they are better, more suited with cellular communications, especially with the advancement nowadays of 5G. Okay, because 5G can provide faster um, communications for the devices within our network. Okay, so um, regarding terrestrial, for example, if you don't want to share or if you want your system to be sharing the same network with other users or the outside world, then you can build your own infra, especially if you opt for the extranet. Okay, you can use terrestrial microwave communications. So you can put point-to-point antenna in several places until your sending and receiving parties are connected. So point to point. So in between, you can put antennas, okay, or links, point-to-point links, right? Especially if the distance is very long. But if the distance is very short, I think one link is enough. Okay. So whether we are using satellite communications, cellular communications, terrestrial microwave communications, or fiber optic communications, the concept of latency is still the major issue here. Okay, so maybe the question is which one of these, given the scenario, given the purpose, given the resources, which one of these suits the most in terms of the tolerable latency and the um, data type of data that we want to be transmitted over these networks. Okay, so it still goes back to the nature of data or the purpose of our transmission. Why are we transmitting this data? Or should we say, why does our robot have to communicate with this server or this user or this other robot or other systems? Okay, what exactly is the message to be conveyed. Okay, because everything else will determine which of these will be chosen for your own system. Okay, so it's a big advantage in robotics if you have fundamental understanding in these communication systems. Okay, especially 5G communications. That's the one being um, promoted nowadays, and that's the one that we have right now. I'm not going to discuss here the difference between 4G and 5G. You can observe. Um, the point is, with the help of 5G, technologies like IoT and our robotic systems powered by IoT are now possible. Okay, they can now communicate fast. They can now operate over long distances. Okay, they just need to communicate with the with the cellular towers that are 5G enabled. Okay, because 5G can do a lot more than the previous generations of cellular technology. Okay, so just observe the details, right? And speaking of IoT, remember that IoT, okay, IoT is um, something that operates with three C's, three letter C's. Okay, the first one of which are the components. C. First C stands for components. What systems do we want to communicate with each other? Okay, via the internet. So what systems, what devices, what robots? Okay, that's the first C. The second C is the connectivity. So how do we the things that we discuss here are all about connectivity. The network devices, the DTEs and DCEs, the protocols, the communication media, the types of telecommunication system. How do we get to the internet, and then how do we get towards the intended other party? Right, so that's connectivity. So you and the other party are supposed to be connected to the internet via the ISP or the internet service provider. Okay, now we have components, connectivity, and the third C is the cloud. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, especially if we are involving AI models in our robotic systems, then there's a chance that our own servers or our own built-in devices within our robots are not able to handle a lot of data needed for such features. Okay. So even in remote cars, I mean in self-driving cars, their built-in computers are not able to handle all the data on their own. And that's why normally they make use of cloud computing. Okay? So this is the reason that we are the IoT systems have to go through the internet because of the cloud. Okay? The cloud is actually the one that's processing processing the data that we send, and then provides the data that we or provides the processed data to the intended other party. Okay, so cloud computing, just remember it's for advanced calculations or even for remote storage. Okay, so we can have either a private or a public cloud for internet designs or internet architecture. We can make use of our uh, private cloud, but if you want a more advanced one or a more comprehensive one, then we can use of a public cloud. Okay, especially if the communications involve long distances. Okay, and we have data servers in different parts of the world, so that's the time it's best to have a public cloud. And most especially if we don't have our on-premise servers for hosting our private cloud technology. Okay, for your private cloud, we need our own servers, our own systems and platforms. Okay, but if you don't have that, then you can make use of a public cloud service. Okay, we deploy our model, we deploy our codes there in the cloud. Okay, but of course, uh, we might face some security issues. Okay. And also knowing that we are going through the internet, then latency is another issue here. So we must make sure if we go to public cloud, we must make sure that the connection is fast. Okay. Otherwise, we can settle for what we call the hybrid. Okay? If we have a computing device for our real-time functions or functions that require real-time results, then we can have them processed by our private cloud. Okay. Uh, okay. Okay, or these are the cloud services that are meant not to be shared with others. Okay, it could be on-prem or it could be via a certain rented um, facility that you have in the cloud um, environment. Okay. Again, we can have a hybrid ones that wherein we make use of both edge and cloud technologies. So we're going to talk about edge in a while. In the meantime, once we avail of cloud services, depends on what we have. If we already have if we have the infrastructure already, the on-premise devices, we have the infrastructure but we don't have the okay by the wrong. If we have the application itself, we have the platform itself, but we don't have the on-prem devices, or in other words, we don't have our own facility. Okay, you can settle for private cloud, okay, or public cloud if you want it to be shared. And that service is called IaaS or infrastructure as a service. Okay. Um, Now, if what you need is just the platform, okay. So you have the infrastructure, but you need the platform and of course the application that will run in it. Then what we have is the PaaS. Okay, you have the infrastructure, but you don't have the platform and the application that will run through it. Now, if you have the platform, you have everything that you need, but right. So let me do so sorry for that. It got messed up. Uh I believe it would be best to explain it this way from the SaaS perspective. So SaaS, we have the software as a service. So we don't have everything. Okay, so let me correct myself earlier. Okay, SaaS, software as a service, we just make use of everything here. Even the software itself is already provided for us, and that's where the um Blink platform comes in. Okay, you just enter your inputs such as your codes and your you don't even have to write your codes, but some configurations, some scripts. Okay, you just have to input them, and then we you can now avail the cloud-based service by Blink and other similar platforms like Arduino IoT Cloud and Node-RED. Okay, so that's service as a or software as a service, right? Now, if you have your own platform, okay, you have your um, okay, let me pause for a while. I mean, if you have your own software, but you don't have the platform that will run your software via cloud, of course, you also don't have the infrastructure, then the service that you should avail is the PaaS. Okay? Because your software cannot run without the platform and your platform cannot run without the infrastructure. So you avail of the PaaS. Okay, platform plus infrastructure. Okay. Uh, PaaS stands for platform as a service. And the third one, if you have your own platform, you have your own software that runs to your own platform, then the next one is the one that you don't have is the infrastructure, then you can avail of the IaaS. Okay. So the infrastructure is the one that you don't have. Okay, and the one that you're going to rent either via private cloud or public cloud or hybrid. Okay, so but if you have everything, you have the software, you have the platform, you have the infrastructure, then you can have your own on-premise cloud. Okay, you can run your own cloud without without connecting to the internet or to the outside world. Okay. However, if you want to connect to the outside world, then you make it in a way that it's extranet architecture. Okay. So now remember cloud. If you avail cloud, the problem is internet. It requires internet connection and it has a large latency. Plus, there's a security issue. There are security issues that come with your internet connection. So one option for that is to not to rely totally on cloud. Okay. Um, the okay, you can have your edge computing. So edge computing basically the device itself or your own on-premise network itself is handling everything. Okay. So you don't have to go to the cloud because they are already processed within your premises or maybe within the device itself. Okay, so this is most especially uh, applicable or recommended for tasks or functions of a robot that require real-time results. Okay, like the movement of our actuators. Okay, and we have the cloud. Okay, if we make use of the cloud, then if we especially if we need remote controls, remote monitors, or we need remote storage. Okay, plus if we have AI model that must run a lot of data. Okay, so what if we combine both edge computing and cloud computing? So we have the hybrid that okay, we don't have here. We have the hybrid. So it would be best if the system, our robots can switch from edge computing to cloud computing, meaning we divide the tasks. Some tasks are handled by the edge devices itself, meaning it's either within the robot or within the premises of the robot. Okay, maybe you have a server cabinet within the premises that will handle all the computing for your, especially for your AI models. But for larger applications or more complex applications, and even for remote features, then that's the time we we designate those tasks to the cloud. Okay, so let the cloud handle complex and remote applications, and the real ones, or I mean the real-time ones, or the more critical ones, will be handled by edge computing. So basically, that's our recommended, especially if you want to deploy your robot in the real world application. But for prototyping purposes, I guess either way could be okay. Okay, smaller AI models, edge computing; larger AI models, cloud computing. So that could be okay for prototyping. Okay, but if your system is meant to be an IoT type, then uh, no choice. We have to avail of the cloud. Okay, because IoT without cloud is not IoT. Okay, so IoT system of integrated computing devices, including our robots and machines, provided with unique identifiers and the ability to transfer data over a network without requiring human to human or human to computer interaction. So, for example, if your robot behaves according to a drone, you sent in a remote location, they have to communicate via the cloud. Okay, they have to be connected by the internet, um, so they can communicate with each other or exchange data. Okay, so for example, a robot in this factory, in this branch of the factory, um, has determined that um, they need more help, then they can activate the robots from the other factory or the other branches to perform some of the tasks on their behalf. Okay, so things like that can be done via IoT. So I guess that will be all. It has been a very long discussion, and that actually boils down with the uh, signals from our sensors gathered and processed in our digital system. And when it comes to large processing, we can make use of clouds. However, there is communication involved. Okay, so uh, everything that we do in our system involves signal and data processing, and especially if you are aiming to include AI or machine learning in your robot, then you have to have knowledge on these things as well. Okay? Okay, by the way, we are talking within the context of control and data acquisition robots. For other types of robots, the maybe you can disregard this module. Okay? So that would be all for this module. By the way, we have one more slide. Um, you don't have to start from scratch when doing IoT. Okay, we have these platforms. You can take a screenshot of it and check them out on YouTube or in some other websites. Okay, or you can, in terms of software, you can um, you choose among these IoT stack. Okay, right? And then or these IoT software stacks, right? Okay, you can zoom in and take a screenshot if you want. Okay, so that would be all for this module. It has been very long. Apologies for that. I really hope you have learned something. Let us know if you have some questions. And thank you for watching the video. Bye bye. See you in the next one.